Come on in, post, share, let the word out. Rosado's on. Today is my moon day, by the way. This is our moon week. It's the Rosado moon coming out there. You can see my post. This is my time to shine. Come on in. We're going to talk about preparing your pantry and garage for survival, long-term stuff. You got to be careful what we're doing and get things done. Join me. Let's go. We're getting started right now. Amen. God bless you all and welcome today to our show. We're going to talk a little bit about, follow up on my previous shows on redesigning your space in your kitchen. And then we're going to now go into, I told you how to prepare. You have to at least prepare for 4 to 6 weeks normally. And I think that one of the things people need to change is how you're designing your kitchen food storage. And it should be, you should be consuming food according to the plan, which is to have your weeks of food laid out in the cabinets in the kitchen, and have that become the new way that you guys organize your kitchen. At any moment you have, anything can happen, and so you want to have a cyclic cabinet process where you have, for example, you have to first have at least 4 to 6 weeks equals 4 to 6 cabinet spaces, okay? Sometimes it's half a cabinet. It could be in your situation, or it could be the whole cabinet, 1 week, or one side of the cabinet 1 week, the next side of the other half of that cabinet another week. So you have two per cabinet, and you can do 4 to 6 weeks easily in most kitchen cabinet formats. Whichever way you lay it out that way, it should make sense even to your children. Because what you want to do is have your children understand that, okay, the lights went out, there's no food in the stores, everyone's going nuts, but the house, we can survive in the house for 4-6 weeks. And then today we're going to talk about the pantry plus the pantry, and also the garage, or the garage, depending where you're from, if you have one. And so we're going to be discussing these things today on this program. I may do the other program following this is discussing the exit plan. If you have to leave the home, you need to have an exit plan depending on what type of emergency. Individual preparation and for each child, and also for the car. So we're going to do that in a separate video, maybe after this one, we'll see. But in any case, you should have in your kitchen should be your first visual food storage layout, and that's basically how you want to start using the cabinets in your home. Yes, it's not the way that most people do it, but most people were not trying to have a storage for extended emergencies. And most of you, and there's other considerations, not just because most people store things in their pantry. The problem is that it's not as visual and I guess systematic as using your cabinets would be. We tend to use the pantry as an extension to our cabinets, and other than putting the seasonings in one shelf and the dishes on this other shelf, and things like that, we really don't have an order. And at any given moment, from in the kitchen space, we don't have a visual food storage comprehension. And so, and how why that makes a difference is it gives you more space. First, it gives you more space. Instead of having space to display your dishes and have just dishes there constantly, it gives you it gives you and your children a visual. Every time you open a cabinet, you're going to prepare a meal. They are learning. The meals are laid out, so it gives you and the children more ease psychologically, because remember, a lot of the problem that will happen in the future, and if it's not happening, it's happening already to some people, is the unknown and the panicking, and this causes stress, and it keeps you, or it makes you weaker, so you can't not fight against any disease, especially the one that's hanging around. So you open the cabinet, food is there. There's an understanding that we got food for 6 weeks, so we're okay. And then, and on top of that, we have the pantry, and those with a garage or a garage. On top of that, we have a garage full of food. So at least in terms of food and in terms of the psychological benefit of knowing that you don't have to worry about food. If the stores close or there's a supply chain issue, you don't have any problem with that. Goes a long way in keeping you and your family safe, keeping you and your family healthy, because they're not stressing, and stress is a major debilitator in our immune system, and we're not able to defend against diseases, or getting sick will make us a lot worse, and also challenge the survivability of your family, because you got somebody sick now, and what are we to do, stuff like that. So you need to look at all the angles when you're preparing your home for emergency survival, which is why, in my opinion, we should all come out of this virus issue now, this pandemic. If anything, we should all have a different way of running our kitchens and storing food. That's one thing that should change. And what I'm suggesting to you, is a very good way of changing things now and maintaining that new way of designing the food storage process and the food consumption uh, process, or consumption flow or line, taking it from the production line idea, where the food goes processed through, or you're accessing it from the first week, the second week, and then resupplying the first week items, right? So that when the cycle ends in your last cabinet, you go back to the first cabinet, the cycle begins again, and it's restocked accordingly, right? And you can make changes to the menu and stuff like that, obviously, but you plan out for 6 weeks, and always have the 6 weeks and 8 if you have the space. Absolutely, the more time, the better it will be, when things get complicated. Now, I also want to impress upon all of you, first of all, you have to take things easy. Right now, if you're stressing yourself, you're making yourself sick. You don't need the corona thing. You don't need any flu issues to be around. If you are stressing right now, you're going through stress, you will make yourself sick. There's people killing themselves. Unfortunately, they're getting stressed out. So the first thing that we need to focus on is take it easy. Number one, take it easy. Be calm. Okay, if you're a person of faith, you know, go to your faith. Pray, meditate, read the scripture, read the Psalms, very calming. You know, take it easy, relax, get a warm bath going. Pamper yourself, allow yourself to take a hot bath and just lie there. If you don't have a bathtub, you just have a shower. Put the shower on, nice hot water. Just sit down on the bottom. Sit there, lie there for a while. Just let that water go and just lose yourself to the world, to the things that are going on. You don't have to just, you know, take a vacation, Go to the sauna. It's right there in your home. You have your own sauna. Just put that hot water on and just relax. Make yourself relax. Be calm. Because the reality is that there's no reason to panic right now. There's no, and I don't mean that to say, but later, yeah, though. But I mean to say that there's really no reason to panic because there's only one thing we're dealing with, and that is that the pandemic. They're dealing with it, and frankly, at the time of this broadcast, the numbers are decreasing of new infections. So the thing about staying home, putting on your mask if you have one. I don't have one. I haven't gotten one. Can't find any around here. So I'm someone is sending me some masks. They thought about me and the family here, so they're sending masks to me. But when that comes or gets here, who knows when? But I'm not worried about it because of the what we see in the evidence of what we're seeing is that as long as I'm here broadcasting, I'm not going to get it. Simple. If I go venturing out and confronting people or dealing with people, then that's a different story. And obviously, people wearing their masks would be good, or wearing something over your face. You got to understand also that wearing a mask does not 100% protect you. It is better than not having anything, but it's really not. The mask is really to protect other people from you because when you're talking and when you sneeze or you cough, that is where other people can get impacted. Also, somebody coughs, you got to realize that, and then they're in the supermarket. Oh, these are great. Look at bananas, and then they say, "Oh, I think I have enough." So you put them back. Those bananas have whatever you sneezed up or touched before even on your hand. So these supermarkets, you guys are going out buying stuff. You gotta wear gloves. Number one, and number two, you really need to take any fruit, anything you brought like that from the store, and you should be passing it through the water, a little light soap on that. Just clean off any debris, any dust and the soil that may be on there, or oils from someone's fingers because they touched it before you got there, so that it can take away the bad stuff. You're just gonna have to wipe things down. Get a little Lysol spray, and pass a rag over these things, and then always continue washing your rags. I don't want to get into another discussion about sanitation, But you really need to be understanding that when you buy something from the store, and just like they told us when you receive something, right now when that package gets to us, or I've already told the family here, the ones who will be handling packages, because I'm not, but they need to leave the package outside. There should be nothing that you get in the mail should be coming inside your home. Packages and envelopes should be open outside with gloves in the sunshine, and whatever is inside, you consume it visually, or you take a picture with your cameras and just throw everything, containers, boxes of this, like the masks will come in some type of plastic packaging or something like that. And so we're going to have to Lysol spray that packaging and whatnot, and just, and remove it from any box and shipping material, because all of those are exposed elements that can bring in, bad stuff into your home. You don't want them in your home. You don't want them on your hands. Gloves. You need to have it. And then obviously after working with all that, I would recommend, it's overkill, but I recommend that you bathe. So you take your one moment of the day, take care of the outside stuff, packages, mail, take your pictures so that you have your mail in digital form, and just take all of that, put it into the garbage can, and that's it. You don't physically handle them without gloves, and you dispose of all the external packaging and envelopes in the garbage, and then you wash off, and take a bath, take that nice hot shower, relax. And that's really what you need to maintain your house secure. So you want to do that and pay attention to that little detail. Again, overkill, but better overkill it than it overkilling you, right? So, yeah. So you're gonna have to make that change, okay? But anyway, that's just a little bit to get into understanding, being careful. Let's get into the food issue here. So we have, if you haven't seen that other video, look for it wherever you're seeing this one. Look at the history, archive, whatever, and see if you can catch it. I did it like last week or so, so you have to look back a week or so and find that video that was done. I don't have any of the chat things open, which I will fix right now in case someone's asking a question or just saying hello. Then I can uh, respond, or at least recognize you guys. So we're going to have that here. So that chat thing is open now. Okay, and sorry if I've already missed your comment. If you made a comment beforehand, just to put it in again, and I will be able to see. Hopefully, if the chat thing is working right or not. All right. So what you want to do again, look for those. That first one, I really went into great detail of the process of identifying how much cabinet space you need, deciding on exactly how you're going to lay out your process, your consumption line. I'm calling it a consumption line, where you have one cabinet for 1 week, and a cabinet or half a cabinet for per week, so that you'll need at least six, 6 to 8 sections, one for each week, and that can be done with 3 to 4 cabinets that's hanging. I was focusing on the hanging cabinets to make it easier for the adult. You have to be bending down, stuff like that. You may want to, all those that have the ability to make use the lower cabinets for the sake of children. If your children heavy in your home, you may want to think of, like, if you're a single adult parent and you got 4 or 5 kids in the house, you may want to focus on lower cabinets, for the simple reason that if something should happen to you as the parent, Little kids aren't going to be able to get up to the high cabinets. So what you want to do is make it kid friendly. May have them be able to reach food, so that they can survive if something should happen to you. Again, they need to be able to call for help and whatnot, who to call, stuff like that. All these type of things you guys need to resolve, especially if you're single parents. You really need to take care of these questions. I know a lot of people don't want to deal with these issues because you don't want to think negative or anything. It's not thinking negative, thinking positive. My children going to survive if I don't. They're going to survive. You have to think it's a positive thing because you're creating survivability. You're increasing survivability of your family, of your children, in case something horrific happens. We and God forbid that it does, but again, it may. So you have to be alert on that. And just to talk about the seriousness of what we don't have, because we don't have the serious part of this yet, but it can get very easily serious. uh, we have a pandemic. We don't have to worry when it's like one thing like this. There's a lot of folks gonna die, and they're dying, and we pray for them. I'm praying for all of you who are suffering losses, and who will suffer losses. I myself am I'm preoccupied daily about the potential for losses in my own family. Again, this is something we have to deal with, so you need to already prepare yourselves for it. But also you have to understand that it could be worse. Any little thing, you have to realize that anything more that occurs, even naturally, will create a more of a very serious state. Okay, where the things that I'm talking about and teaching about are essential for you to have in place. Right now, we are not thinking about long term, food supply, because since it's one problem that the world is dealing with, mostly our food chain, or food supply rather, the food supply has not been overly taxed, overly drained, or interrupted. Okay, but it could easily become or get interrupted by any even natural occurrences. But even people panicking. The thing is, I see a lot of people. I do some political messaging. I see there's a lot of debate here in the U.S. The Democrats and Republican, they're fighting each other, and I still see in this moment where there's so much to be careful about. We still see the political maneuvering and posturing. Okay, which goes to show that they don't understand what their posturing, or how their posturing is causing more danger and lives to be lost. People need to understand. You need to just stop. Even I haven't done my viral political Mondays because it has to stop. Guys got to stop it, because what all you're doing is adding fuel to panic, to insecurity. You're making people feel insecure about their government, insecure with their leaders, with the president, etc., etc. And you're going to cause major panic. People panicking will interrupt the food supply for everyone. It goes to thinking that maybe that's what some people want. Some people want actually for everything to collapse. And again, making people panic is a very good, effective way of tipping the balance over, to tip everything over, basically, and have everything fall apart. If you can get people to panic more, then everything will start, uh, you know, corroding. Any little stability, any little uh, things that we are hoping to maintain falls apart. And the food supply, once that goes, people will lose their minds here in the U.S. and in other countries. The issue that in other countries they will survive better because in many of the other countries they deal with lack of food on a day-to-day basis, really. So they have more chances of surviving. Like, you got people like in Puerto Rico, they've been through hell and back between hurricanes and whatnot. They have food like hanging from the trees. They don't pick them anymore like they used to, but they'll be pick. I'm sure after the hurricane they started picking the fruits and eating off the land. But they have it all around them, right? There's a different thing in most, like in U.S. cities. You don't have anything hanging except for old sneakers from the telephone wires or electric wires, right? That's all you have hanging. That's the hanging fruit there. But how are you guys going to survive in the city if there's no supermarket deliveries, and how that's going to go down? This is the reason that I've been seeing reports, if you guys have also seen reports of people buying guns like crazy. What are they buying guns for? They're buying guns because they have food. They prepared, so they have stock, and they are getting ready in case food supply is interrupted. That's why they're getting the guns ready, because they're going to defend their food supply. They're not going to defend against people coming to sit and live on their front lawn. They're coming to. They're not gonna. They're not getting guns to protect their TV set. They're getting guns to protect their food. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. The panic out there again. I don't want to get into politics. Whatever group is condemning and attacking the president, that's all that's going to happen. You guys, they're so foolish to do that. It's almost suicidal to attack the head in times like this. Okay, again, who that is something that you guys have to deal with. So I'm making an appeal. If you are of the ilk that likes to complain against the leadership and whatnot, take a vacation, take a break, look towards your family. And if you don't have a family, then look towards your neighbor and focus on them, and look for some old folk around need help and help them. And that's it. Concentrate on that. When things come back to normal, then you can come back and attack whoever you want to attack. All right. All right. So let's getting back to your kitchen setup. The kitchen is already should be with 6 to 8 weeks of food. Again, if something should happen more than this pandemic, let me give you some examples of what else can happen. We talked about the food supply becoming interrupted. And so that means that people will begin to panic as well. There's no food outside of what you have in your home. That's why you need to have at all times from this day on, you need to be focusing. Even after there's a cure for the disease, everything's going back to normal. Your house cannot go back to normal. Your house, listen, I'm talking to you. Everyone hearing me? Hear me, for goodness sakes. For the sake of your family and the sake of your survivability. When things go back to normal, do not go back to normal. Your home. You need to make your home into the home that I'm discussing with you here. Because this thing is just the beginning. of bigger things coming. Okay, there's going to be bigger and worse things coming, and this can get worse only by having something else happen at the same time. You can have earthquakes with that. So far we're not seeing earthquakes. The earth is quiet, right? Even even God has sense, right? How much can these people handle? Okay, so things are quiet. All right, but if the earth should go back to its normal way, we could have earthquakes, volcanoes erupting. All right, it could be going wrong. Tsunamis, an asteroid. One of these days, eventually, an asteroid is going to hit from space. It's going to hit the planet. Major catastrophe. Okay, so anything that happens in addition to, let's say, the pandemic that's on right now, would make it total disaster in terms of what you're thinking you can do right now. So that's why you have to understand food chain can go. I talked to you guys the other day about electricity. It's no guarantee. A solar flare, knock out the power grid. Now what you doing? No cell phone after 12 hours or however, or an hour in some of your cases. No internet access, no electricity. All your activities will have to be done during the daytime. And then there's no food. Think about it. And in some cases, there may not be water because I'm thinking that in some areas, the water gets to your house or your apartment by electricity. Something is pumping it there. And when those pumps go down, how are you going to get water in your house? Yeah. So you have to be more specific, my friend. You asking me what's my advice on what? I've been talking about a lot of stuff. Be very specific, and I'll answer you. So you have to understand that you may not have water. So now that we're talking about the pantries are usually a larger storage space. And the largest, although you don't need to put water in the pantry. I think the last place we were at, the pantry was like a cabinet, like a long, tall cabinet, and that was the pantry. Right now we have a room that's a pantry. Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that. So that's what I'm talking about now. We have a room that's a pantry. So, and if you have the cabinet, putting water in there is not like advisable. It doesn't have to be there. Water in the gallons of water can be stored any closet in the house. So you can use that in any closet in the house. You can put water throughout the house, a few gallons in each room, under the beds, things like that, closets and beds. So, storing water is something you can store throughout the house and just have it throughout the house. Again, you shouldn't forget the water. Yeah, you shouldn't forget the water or anything in terms of having the same cyclic usage of the water. So that what you want to do is, however you store the water, you need to use that water. Don't just leave it there and forget it. That's the water you use throughout the year for different things. You just pull the gallon out, and when you go to the store, you replace the gallon someplace else. You go through the house or through where you have your water. You just use that water, but you then also replace that water so that at any given time you have again the 4 to 8 weeks of water in the house. And there's a daily uses of water. I think it's like 3 gallons a day. Let me see. Let's see. I believe it was like 3 gallons a day per person. I'm going to use. Okay, so it's okay. So I'm mixing up the 3 days. So it says store at least 1 gallon of water per person per day. It says here again, the ready.gov from the government. It says to store water for 3 days. God. Yeah, that's when things were normal. Yeah, that's what things are normal. I'm doing the show. I'm gonna give you it as I go. So hold on. You're in the rush. You're in the store now. So it's 1 gallon of water per person per day, and then you have, um, and that's about. But you need more than 3 days. So you got to figure that. So if you have a family of four, right, you need 4 gallons of water for the 3 days would be 12 gallons of water. 12 gallons of water. But you need it for a month and a half to 2 months worth. So that's a lot of gallons of water. So again, you're talking easily, 120 gallons of water per month? 120 gallons of water. 120 and 240 for 2 months. 240 gallons of water. What you want to do is then where are you going to put 240 gallons in your home, right? So again, under the beds, in the closets, okay. Each closet you spread them out, and so that you can have that water always present in the home, and again cycle through it. If you want, have like 12 months, 12 places that you have identified. You make a list, and each month you start drawing water from those spaces. So you might, and again, when you're trying to do this, you can't do this overnight. You have to do it month to month. I recommend month to month when things go back to normal, and start storing the water month to month for each month. And that's slowly go and collect these things and put them together. In our first video, we talked about what types of food that you should have. It depends on your diet, your menu, the type of food that you should be storing. And there's foods that store well. And that you mentioned beans, right? Uh, excuse me, beans or something that stores well, rice. Everything you see in the store that's in a bag or in a can, it's obviously something that'll hold time wise. Um, and those are the type of things that you want to store long term. When you're doing, if you see my first video on this, you'll see that for the week to week cabinet storage, you want to store it by portions. You don't keep it in the big bag, you put it in portions, and you can do it that way and put every meal apportioned in the cabinet with the cans of vegetables and whatnot, and the menu items just right there. So at least you know that each meal is already in this cabinet. And that's how you want to treat each cabinet, and probably a shelf as a meal. Or we talked about the containers last time as well. You can get these containers in any Walmart or Amazon when things get normal again. You can probably find them now. Yeah, because the portions, what happens is that, again, that's my first video, and before you got here in this one, I said the reason. The reason, some more of the reasons that I gave was because of psychological ones. Especially if you have children, you have your family, it's good for them to know and see visually that there's food. When people start hearing that there's a problem with food deliveries at the supermarkets, that's panicking. People are going to start panicking, worry. That's what gets people sick. Your defenses go down, your immune system goes down. Everyone starts freaking out. So to prevent that in your home and your family, I'm the whole part of the point to these videos that I've done. One previous where we did the kitchen cabinets, and this one and the following ones, is that no matter what happens outside, what you see in the news, your home should be in a self-enclosed, healthy environment, and that includes mentally. It includes not having stress, not being worried. And the way to stay stress free and worry free, even though everyone else is freaking out on the planet, is for your home to have everything it needs at any given moment when something should happen. So that your folks, your people, your family, your clan, okay, will realize things are not good outside, but we are good here. And that's less of a stressor. It clears the mind for other survival things we need to think about, and we don't get sick from stress because we're okay. So that's the part that you need to understand. It's very comforting. It's very easing on the mind. And a lot of you know this because you had your stuff ready or you were able to get things. So you the same feeling that you get that you have your food, you're okay. Well, that's the way we have to stay for 4, 6, 8 weeks. That all hell is breaking loose. Everyone else is panicking because, of course, they went back to their normal ways, which is day to day, and only 3 days of supply here. So that's the difference that we're talking about. Okay, so let us go into the pantry. I have a degree in pantry organization. What type of expertise do I need to have to talk about how to put your pantry together? It's called free speech and having a brain, right? What more do I need? I teach people, I train people in many areas. I have a brain to think. I need a degree now to help people to store food. You want to see my college degree? My doctorate degree? Like that's going to help put you at ease when you need just to have a brain to think about storing food and getting ready? How much more of a degree we need? Everyone now knows about the pandemic. Do we all need a degree now? What kind of thinking is that? There's no need to ask stupid questions. This is what we call a stupid question, and you probably qualify to go to the press conference in front of Donald Trump and ask him some of those questions there. All right. Anyway, I'm not gonna berate you or anything like that. I'm just pointing out that again, this is for the part of the thing that we're talking about is to reason. We're only reasoning together. Simple as that. You don't want to do what I say. Yeah, fine. A lot of people weren't ready for this, and they have what they have. The next time it happens, so you can wait till it happens the way I say it to then say, "Well, shit, he knew what he was talking about, with a degree or without one," right? Because at the end of the day, it don't matter. With a degree or without one, you're dropping dead if you don't make yourself ready. So what you have then is with the pantry as we continue. Like I said, in this moment, this pandemic can go supernova, as we say in astronomical terms. If only something else happens, just anything else. You can have any war, North Korea, right? To name a few. China is even still, I read an article this morning where China is still trying to send military, look at that, military to Africa. See that? Now, we're dealing with this pandemic issue, and some of the players on the planet are trying to move their forces strategically around the globe. See that? And at any moment, something can flare up and cause a great disruption that will require the homes to have more than 3 days of water, as the government suggests there. All right, so this is what I'm trying to say. The food supply will get disrupted. Things start flying in the air. So again, make yourselves ready. That's all we're talking about. The pantry, since you don't have to worry about the water there, you just put the water around the house. Again, what is the measurement of time that you feel that you need? The 8th month is real. I'm sorry, the 8 weeks, the 2 month period is really what I deem to be the limit if you are depending or expecting any government to get to you. Okay, so that's the caveat with the 2 month period. In most normal cases, the government, at worst case scenario, under normal conditions, when you have a regional problem like a hurricane and a tornado that ripped through your region and whatnot, or a series of them, the the most that you would wait for help from the government would be 2 weeks. Now, that we saw in, I forget which was the hurricane that hit New Orleans the way it did. I'm probably Katrina. It just comes to my mind, Katrina. I'm not sure of that, but I know that there was one of those hurricanes hit New Orleans and Louisiana, and it took about 2 weeks, 2 solid weeks, before the government was really, fully established on site and helping people, moving people from their homes. I think there was some at some point there was some flooding in some areas, whatever. 2 weeks, 2 weeks. I think it's fair to just give yourself 2 weeks for a regional catastrophe, something that's not nationwide, and definitely something that's not global. But here we're talking about some global situations. In the global situations, we you have to look at the real possibility that the government, let's say the United States had the FEMA thing. This thing that's going on now, if you look at it carefully, you realize that there were changes had to be made, because I think it was, I guess, about 10 to 16 years ago, I started tackling the issue, or the thought, the concept, about the fact that FEMA is really set up the way it was set up back then, with the past administrations, that the FEMA was set up more or less for local disasters. So they were and practiced in local disasters. So you had the issue in Louisiana. FEMA was able to go and put resources there, and they had resources. FEMA had certain resources around the country, but it wasn't to treat the whole country or to approach the whole country in terms of remediation. It was simply to have resources closer to hotspot, if something should occur in some one area or another. Here we have a case, a real case study, which I'm happy is happening. You have to understand what's going on with this pandemic is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Outside of the losses, it's actually a good thing. Why? Because it prepares FEMA and the country otherwise for a global type of emergency where everyone is affected, every place, and mostly at the same time, and at the same degree, mostly. And that's what FEMA and the other government agencies are having an exercise with right now. So it's a good thing. It's a thing that shows us, well, what do we do when everybody in the country is having an emergency. How do we deal with it? It's great for the hospitals because now the hospitals and the politicians now they have to realize, wait a minute, what we have hospitals that take care of people on a day-to-day basis, right? For accidents, explosions, terrorist activity. Yeah, the World Trade Center came down, boom, I was in New York when that happened. The hospitals had to go into gear and all that, and everybody had, and that really stressed out the resources locally of New York City when that happened, right? But here we have a case, but in those cases, mind you, in those cases, the victims were set in terms of there was a number of victims that immediately needed help, others that lingered in over time. So it was manageable. It's what we call something that's manageable. But now with the pandemic, what we have is a global or universal emergency where and back in that time New York had the help of other states, New Jersey across the water, other states and cities around the nation started sending first responders, started sending resources and all that, so everybody helped each other. It's great when there's a localized emergency because everyone else who's not affected can then go and help. It's the same mentality if you see when De Blasio, was it? De Blasio, yes. The mayor of New York City was talking about getting help from, the federal government. What he was saying was that you help us now and then we'll be able to help others later. You see, so what that statement reflects is the mindset that the politicians have when it comes to emergencies that affect their location. He's still looking at it locally because normally when you look at something locally, have a problem, you're the only one that has this problem. So you're asking for help from outside. You're asking for the government to orchestrate help from other states, and obviously other states and other cities offering to help and send resources, send sustenance or whatever is needed. But in this case, everybody is affected. Every city is worried about this thing, and everyone wants from the federal government at the same time. And as the president was saying the other day, not complaining but pointing out that everyone asking for assistance, and they're saying how many ventilators you need, et cetera, et cetera. They're asking for a large amount of ventilators, not because they need it, but because they're expecting things to get busier, get more difficult over time. So they want to have already resources so they can have it before it runs out. Because the fear is, again, like everyone else, with us in our kitchens and in our homes, we need to make sure that our home has sustenance, that we have resources for our families to survive, and that's our responsibility. So this is the same idea, the same mentality. But really, and now we begin to see that the need for rethinking emergencies from just being localized and solvable, as in the case of the .gov recommendations here of 3 days of water, we need to be looking at what if there's a great catastrophe and also something that affects drinking water. We are not even thinking that. Terrorism. Somebody can poison or do something against the water supply. Then there's no water to drink. Again, what would you rather have? Would you rather have 3 days supply of water when there's no water that's drinkable and not only in where you are living but all over the United States, for example? In your nation, all the water's poisoned, something happened, you're contaminated, there's a virus in the water, whatever, right? Think about it. Think about if this pandemic was really waterborne. There's no water to drink. What would you rather have? 3 days supply or 2 months supply. See, because you can go without taking a bath. If you go without taking a bath or using the water for washing purposes, that supply of water will last longer even. So, but think about the reality that if you are cut off from water, you're cut off from food. How long do you envision yourself or desire you and your family to survive? And and in your home, because there's another option. The other option is to leave your home, right? When things warrant it. But that again is not what we're going to talk about now. What we're talking about now is surviving, either waiting for something to get restored, to for government to restore government and society. And 2 months, it's really good. And after the 2 months, as I suggested in my first video, you need to have a plan B, which we will discuss later on, not in this video today, but you need to have a plan B. So, but in any case, what we're talking about is the pantry. The pantry is your plan A for the after 8 week period. This the 4 to 6 week period, whichever your space is allowing you, your kitchen space. Now your pantry will bear the burden, because again you are not resupplying the portions in the cabinets any longer, right? Because there's nothing to buy. There's no stores open. There's no food supply, so you're unable to do that. Basically, depending on the emergency, the government is able to drop parachute drop food. They're able to parachute drop rice and big bags, things you see them doing for Africa, some other country, war impoverished country out there. You see them dropping pallets full of MRIs, even military rationing, right? Even that food will be gotten out to the people as long as there's some structure to government. The food, there could be food being dropped in certain areas if dropping needs to be had, if it's not able to be trucked, whatever, because again, if they're trucking it in and the trucks are getting attacked by these crazy panic people who don't trust the president any longer, then the food's not going to get to you, right? Yeah. So the thing is that so that can be, but then the question is, should you wait for that? Should that be something you're waiting and depending on? Of course, if that happens, if the government is dropping food or shipping food, and the government tells you you have to go to the store on a certain day for your neighborhood or according to your last name. When I remember the gas shortage, I don't know how many of you are old enough for that, but the gas shortage, we had to go by our last names to know when we can go to the gas station. And even at the gas station, there was still a long line, but at least it wasn't as bad as before. So that could be happening with food. Okay. So again, and that's a good thing when you have the rationing come in, when you have some government coming in providing something. Again, that puts your home food storage on hold, right? Because what you want to do is use that food, the food that you're getting from the government, and use that food and save what you have in your home. You always never deplete your home supply. Always store that. Always have that on hand. If there's other food that you come by, that you use that. Okay, yeah, and that includes hunting. If you found a nice little cute bunny rabbit outside, and you are able to catch that bunny rabbit, then that's tonight's dinner. Okay, forget about what you had in your cabin. That's tonight's dinner. That's what you guys are gonna have. You're gonna save what you have in your cabinet. You're gonna save it for a day that ain't no bunny rabbit outside. Okay, so that's again the way you use your storage. Always, I prefer something that came in new, a new opportunity for food, uh, bring that in and save what you have. Always opt to save what you have and replenish what you have. All right. So the pantry, then, what you need to have is the long-term storage, mostly of things. You got like the beans, the rice, as we're talking about. It's a staple for most of the people hearing, watching this. So you need to stock up on those things. This is things again during the years of abundance, the months of normalcy, you want to pick up those extra things. Always be looking in this for store coupons. What I see a lot of people do. I had a friend, by the way, a brother in church. He was an expert at this. He was ex-military, I believe, and well, was he ex-military? I think he was a draftsman by profession. It's a guy, people that organize drawings of buildings or of machinery, and he would be, doing the lines and making everything, the measurements and all that, making blueprints. So he was the guy who would actually physically make the blueprints for something. He had a way of doing shopping, which was very interesting. And basically, and probably a lot of people do it this way. It's really good the way he did it because what he did was he would scour the store coupon magazines, and whenever the store there was a coupon for 8 cans of tomato sauce or tomato paste, he would buy according to the sales, not according to his needs. He would get for his needs. So he would buy, if he needed something, he would buy it. But if there was anything on sale, 8 cans of this, 10 cans of that, or whatever, a very low price, no limit, when the times were good, he would buy a crate full of it. He don't need it today. He don't need it this week. He don't need it next week. It was on sale right now. So he got it right now. And that's what he would do. He had his house stocked with food, with different things that he would never run out of food because he always had. He always had because that was the way he always bought things. When they're on sale, he brought them. That's it. And that's a good way. I also knew a fellow in Panama. He also stocks his own items. Right now, I know he's eating meat. He's fine. Why? Because he had in his home, he would have gourmet refrigerators. Okay, he was an ex-military guy as well, and he's living in Panama. You can't trust anything. South America, Central South America, you gotta be careful. So yeah, he had a couple of gourmet refrigerators. Those are those big refrigerators. Walk in. He had a couple in his house. Okay, that's the way he did his house, and he would have like the boar's head guy. he he made a deal with the boss, the guy who would deliver to the supermarket, to stop by his house and replenish his refrigerators. So this guy was always set. He was always set. He always had food in his house, not an issue, because he had the guys deliver direct to his home. He didn't even have to bother going to do shopping at the market. Because again, he's Central South America. These governments are maybe a little flimsy at times. He needs to make sure he is surviving, he and his wife and his family. So again, these are things that usually you don't think about unless you're in a more precarious situation like in another country. But these are things we got to start doing now because we're too complacent. We're living too fancy free, footloose, and people are not prepared for these types of emergencies. And it's a good thing that this emergency is a pandemic for the purpose or the sake that most people don't even think about health. Most people who are survivalists, they only think about food. Obviously food and water is important, right? and being able to find food and this and that. But they don't think, I don't you don't see much talking about health and stuff like that. So this is really good because this is just brings to the attention something that many people don't think about, and that is safeguarding your health during these times of health issues. So again, you're talking about masks. You're talking about first aid kits, is something I don't think I mentioned the last time. To have your first aid kit, that should be in your pantry as well, easy access to everyone in your home. And the first aid kit should be more than a 3 day kit. I mean, you got to think about things that can be going on affecting the skin for a prolonged period of time. So you're going to think about lotions for the skin, antibiotic creams for the long term. Think about that you won't be able to go to the clinic, the hospital for an extended period of time for 2 months, let's say. Think about that. What things would you need? How many bandages? If people all over were breaking out in some type of skin issue, how many bandages and changes of bandages would you need? If one of your members of your family got caught an infection in the skin, they were out hunting, or they fell when they were outside, or a car accident, whatever, and there's no one that can help you guys because the hospitals are totally full of something else. I mean, how many bandages would you need to, and skin lotions and things like that, so that you can, uh, you know take care of the needs, first aid needs in your home until help can arrive and help you guys. But never assume that the help is going to arrive by calling 911. The whole purpose of preparing is in case, there's no 911 to call. So, in case the hospital was attacked. And these things are incredible. I'm not trying to be an alarmist at all. I'm just saying it's better to be prepared. Preparation is better than just thinking, well, that will never happen, and I don't think it'll ever happen. So when it does, then where you're thinking it could never happen, it doesn't make any sense. Just simply prepare. You can do it. So prepare for it. Right now, if you had 2 months supply of first aid supplies, right now you wouldn't have a problem finding masks, right? You wouldn't have had that issue. If someone in your family is having some issue, otherwise, and they may have some conditions, you need to have some reserves for that. Another thing that some people do, again, you got to consult with your medical professional on these things in terms of prescription meds. It's another issue that people will have. If you're not able to get to a doctor, if the doctors aren't going to work because they're busy trying to help other clients, or there's the whole system fell apart, how long are you going to survive with your medication? So it's a long term thing, and you have to really discuss it with your medical professional. Again, I'm not giving you medical advice at all on this. It's just simply suggesting talk to your medical professional, especially after all of this is over, said and done with, because you need to really discuss with your medical professional the ability for you to, and if you haven't already done it, you have to know what you're doing and what reason and what discussions you have with your medical professional about saving some of the medication. I know some people, I've heard that they take, instead of taking the whole dosage every other day or something like that, or every day, once a week or whatever, they will take half of the dosage. Or sometimes, if your condition, is a condition that sometimes improves during a week and gets worse during another week or something like that, your medications usually set to help you when things are worse. But if you see that you've gotten better for a day or two, and you don't have to take medication, because some people will do that, you need to start saving that pill, saving that other pill, and just saving that pill, and make sure that you get your new pills on time. Don't miss a day, because when you miss the day, then you're going into the pills that you have been able to save. And then again, like I've said, cycle the pills you save, they're older, so you use them before you use the new pills you got from the pharmacy today. You understand? So that's how you have a backup of medication in case something happens that the for some reason you can't get the doctor on the phone. There's no one at the clinic, you ran out of medicine, or stuff like, or the pharmacies aren't opening, they're not unable to deliver the supplies, delayed for a day or a week. Anything can happen, folks. So have something in reserve. Again, the reserve is never old. And I think that's the one thing that I think I need to repeat. Your reserves cannot be old. Your reserves must be new. Okay, you understand that? You understand what I'm saying? So when you get new stuff, you use the older stuff, right? So that you're always replacing in reserves the new with new things, so that if anything happens and you have to go into your reserves, they're still fresh, they're still new, because you've been using, consuming the older stuff first. They're still fresh, they're still new, maybe a week or two, after the new prescription came in, or other type of things that you're reserving. So they're still within a reasonable time period, but never leave stuff sitting. Even the water, you should never leave it sitting forever and ever waiting for another. No, you need to cycle it and replace it with new stuff, and use the stuff that was sitting for 4 to 8 weeks already in your cycle. So that's basically the way you want to think about it, and begin to adapt how you're using your food. So basically, the pantry should have more longer term and bulkier forms of what is in your cabinets. The pantry, of course, you could use it to extend a meal portion type of thing. I don't really recommend that, because it's not needed, it's not necessary. Again, in most cases, the 2 month period is more than enough before you go into plan B. If the government is a no-show after 2 months, it's pretty much you're pretty much on your own, and you'll need a plan B. So 2 months is pretty much a lot of time to let the government figure things out and get help to you. Really, and we're really 2 months. Is like, if they don't get to you in 2 months, they're not coming. All right, so just get on with it. You'll probably have to go find them, and you're probably in a situation where you are living in a remote place, so you really need to get up and move your family to closer to where the government is, or to where there's some source of stability. So again, you got to understand that. So, but 2 months is more than enough time for the government to get its act together, start getting food supply chain going, and stuff like that. So that should be more than enough time, and obviously more than enough time for you and your family to prepare for Plan B to get on out. Although you should have that already in your head, as we discuss it in the subsequent videos that we do. So I can see you guys using the pantry then for the more bulkier purchases of your staples, the rice. Get the 25-pound bags and have that in there. Have the big, yeah, I think like Costco sells like the gigantic bags of things, like of anything, right? So you can get the gigantic bags of beans. Hey, how you doing, my dear? I've been doing this good. Bottles of water can stay in the pantry for how long? That depends. Again, the pantry, there's no sunlight. Don't store water with the sun hitting it, because that will make things go bad quick. And as long as you have some temperature controls there, that water should stay for a while. Plus, also have some bleach. If you drop some bleach, a little drop or two, you can look this up online for the exact amount for a bottle to sanitize the bottle. you want to do that if it's been sitting for too long. I believe the water will stay for a couple of months easily without needing to put the bleach in there. But again, if you're dealing with water that's been sitting for quite a lot, you want to drop in the yeah, you drop in like the amount of bleach they recommend just to kill any bacteria that may have been starting in there. But by mostly it should stay good as long as it's not in direct sunlight and whatnot. So, but again, you always want to be more careful than not being careful. But don't again, you shouldn't be having water that's there too long, for too long. So whenever you have water needs, use the gallons just so that you can move through the water. You may want to use, let's say once a month, you may want to use a few gallons of the water in your washing machine. Just put the water in with the clothes so that it uses less water from the pipe. It fills up faster. You get rid of the water you got that's old, that's getting old. It's being used for a good purpose. You're not wasting new water, right? And that's you have to pay for that water too. And then you get to recycle your water, and then you have fresh new water in bottles to replace that one. I'm talking about the big gallon bottles, right? And stuff like that. If you don't have a filter system in your home, you should be drinking bottled water in any case. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I would do that. I even would do that with the pool. We had a pool out in back, and we had a few old gallons of water lying around. So I, instead of putting the new water from the faucet, I just did the emptied out the gallons in the pool, and that's it. Either way, you got to use water, so you might as well use that water. You have small children that bathe, then you can use some of that old water also in the bath, so they don't use the water from the pipes that you have to. Again, it's different things. The water in if it's old water, you can use that for cleaning yourselves or bathing. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to use it for drinking. But the drinking water, if it's old, like if you found a whole bunch of gallons of water you forgot about like from 5 years ago or something, you have to use the bleach. If there's no other thing to be done, you need drinking water, then you have to be ready with that bleach. And that's another thing to put into the pantry, is to put the bleaching chemicals out of the reach of children. Always remember that. Don't let the children have access to chemicals in your home. But you want to have this water treatment system, which is the little some bleach and a dropper and something, so that you can treat water in case you're unable to get more drinking water and you're running out. Yeah, that is next. Next is a filter system. We have here a whole house system, a treatment system for the whole house. But yeah, having the filter system is really good. Having it for the whole house and then having it again, like right at the water faucet, is a good idea as well. If that outside whole house filter fails, and water treatment, so what we have is a water treatment system. It has its filter as well, but if that fails, it's good to have something at the faucet. I know the refrigerator has another filter, right? These refrigerators come with water filters already installed. Make sure those are always changed, and they're new, every 12 months or whenever the indicator light goes on for that. You want to make sure you have new stuff for that, so that you can have water filtration as well. Another good thing, talking about water filtration, is when things are good again, is order online from Amazon, I believe. Look for some water filters, portable water filters. This is the stuff the guys use in the forests or in the deserts. When they find water, they're able to take any water they find and filter it through this special high filtering system that renders any water, like from a lake or a river, into drinkable water. They're very, very good. Excellent filters, top of the line. They're not too expensive. You're gonna pay a hundred and a change, or between $100 and $300. You should have one of those in the pantry as well, and or have it where you're going to where I have a thing. We're going to do a video on the garage on trunk exit scenarios. When you have to load the car up and leave, you need to make sure you have that with you. So that's another thing to have. Now that we're talking about filters and you guys were asking, yeah, you need to look into also. It's not get the regular ones for your house for normal day-to-day usage, but you want to have one for emergencies and to leave the house with your family, and have that filter, because that filter takes any water you find and makes it drinkable. So again, we cannot survive more than 3 days without water. Water is like the most important thing, second to air, that you need to survive. So that should be more important purchase than a PlayStation. Okay, but again, we all of us will drop dead, but and all of our houses will have PlayStation and Xboxes in them, worth 400, 500, $600, or what? Some people paid 800 for their new station when they first came out, and or the new model came out, and then no water filter. You drop that in 3 days, but the PlayStation is still working, right? So that's what normal life does to people. You really you lose sight of what's important. What is the most important thing that you need to put your money into? Okay, so I'll look into those things. Pasta is something that holds, but unfortunately, most of the pasta is what they call empty calories. So yeah, it's something you can eat, but it's not really doing great things for the body, necessarily. So again, you want to be careful with that. There are other alternatives though to pasta. One of them is something a lot of people don't know about. Still, they should. It's unfortunate, but you should know about quinoa. Quinoa, Quinoa. I know you know about that, Joan. But that quinoa is, you treat it just like a pasta. It's not pasta, but it's a little, like, they look like little seeds, very tiny. It's more like a replacement for rice, if anything. For those who can't have, it doesn't have the starch that rice has. But the quinoa is a good replacement alternative. It's more nutritious than the pasta is. That's why you see, when you see food that it says enriched, that means that it's garbage, but that they added vitamins to. So when you see in the package, it says enrich this, enrich that, and a lot of the rice is enriched. The reason that the rice is enriched, people don't know this, is because, yeah, quinoa, is because they bleach the rice. That white rice that you get is bleached. So the nutrients, the natural nutrients of rice in its natural state, a lot of it has been burnt off with the bleaching process. Think of the bleaching process like a cooking process. It's like pre-cooked. And you know that anything you cooked, pass through liquid or water, leaks the nutrients that it has, because it's almost always water soluble. So it has less vitamins and minerals than the natural rice. Speaking about rice, but pasta is the same thing. So you see, and then they have to enrich it. But of course, when at least Puerto Ricans do this, I don't know about anyone else. When we get rice, the enriched rice, which they coated in this coating, which is where the vitamins and minerals they're enriching the rice with is we put it in water to rinse the rice, and we get rid of the white stuff. So the white stuff is the enrichment. Again, so they're throwing out the enrichment. They paid for this enrichment process to put the vitamins and minerals back in through this white coating, and then now you're back with bland, unenriched rice again. So anyway, but that's just it's laughable, but that's what people do. But the more natural rice, the more brown your rice, the more nutritious the rice is. Simple. White rice is not as nutritious as the brown rice. So you need to have the brown rice, the natural rice, so that you can get the nutrients at least from eating rice. Otherwise, you just have starch. Again, and you have the same thing with the pastas. The pastas also suffer the same problem. They use enriched flour. The same thing was done to the flour. So all you're left with is really just the fibrous material, whatever that is, and the enrichment is boiled away when you make the pasta. And of course, you pour all of that out, and you don't have any of the minerals or vitamins. Same thing you guys do with your vegetables. You take the green beans, for example, you throw it in the water, you boil that, you throw the water away where all the minerals and vitamins are, and you just have the garbage left. You suck it dry of all of its nutrient, and then that's what you serve. And then you tell your kids with a straight face, because you don't know any better, eat your vegetables. They're good for you. No, the good part you threw out in the water. They're better off drinking the water you boil it in, actually, because that's where all the vitamins and minerals are. Anyway, so the best way to do vegetables is to boil them and then put them in, make a soup with it, with the water. Just start making the soup, cut the things in, put a little meat if you're going to put in meat. But other than that, you want to make the soup and use the same water that you boil the vegetables in, because that's the nutritious meal. If you throw out that water, it's ridiculous. Yeah, this is funny, the things we do. We're thinking we're doing the right stuff and actually doing the wrong, the opposite of what we're intending. Alrighty, so those are items. In my previous video, I did talk about things to put in. Again, the pantry is basically, you don't want to go too fancy. I know a lot of people worry, but I don't want to eat the same thing every day and things like that. When you were dealing with survival, you know, you're gonna have the same thing every day. At least you have something. You can't be picky. You just have to be full. Right? Your stomach has to be full, and even if it's not full, at least you need nutrition. And you need to have at least, trying to maintain your 3 meals a day, or whatever your habit is, and your family and your culture. Again, we're dealing with psychology here. You need to maintain some sort of stability. So yeah, if you don't want the same red beans and white rice every day, so then have some pink beans and rice the next day, and have some black bean and the next day, and some lima beans, and you can mix it up. But it's going to be basically your beans are a very good source of protein, absolutely. And you don't need meat actually. If you have beans, you don't need meat. When you see a plate of food and it has rice, it has beans, and then you have meat, you're doubling up on protein. There's two proteins on that plate, which you don't really need. You only need one. But our eating habits are such that we usually double up on something you don't need to. Another thing people double up and don't realize they're doing it is like, and I'm talking about from our Spanish culture, because that's what mostly I know. I've grown up with that all my life. A lot of times we make like rice and potatoes. we'll have something with rice and French fries, or rice and potatoes. See, the problem is that the rice is a starch, and then you're adding more starch with the potatoes, just another starch. So, and then usually we have some more beans. Now, beans is a good source of protein, but that's not the only thing it has. It also has starch. So again, you have to realize what it is you're eating. We can't look at food and just look at it from the external aspect. You just say, well, this is beans, this is that. Like we don't know what it is. You need to know what it is. You need to look at food like when you see rice, you need to say starch. And you see potatoes, you need to say starch. Why do you need two starches? And so much, especially if you have like diabetes prevalent in Hispanic communities and others. Like, and then you have rice and then potato. That's like murder, she wrote. You guys are not realizing that you have two starches, and starch equals sugar. And then and then if you're Cuban, because mostly the Cubans would do this, as opposed to Puerto Ricans or other Hispanics. If you're Cuban, you have then bread, which is another starch. So you have rice, and you have beans, and you have potatoes, and then bread. Wow. I mean, and then you got diabetes on top of that. And you're wondering why. Well, that's the reason, right? That's a whole lot of sugar right there. So again, when you're trying to survive, what you want to do is change your diet. Right now is the perfect time. A lot of people say I got to start a diet, I need to lose weight, and this and that. Right now, with this thing going on, it's the perfect time to start adapting to. Right, you need to put the food into groups, but mostly in your mind, right? Mostly in your mind, that you know exactly what it is. So when you're setting up your shelving for the the week to week process that I was discussing in my videos, you need to understand that this is not beans, it's starch and protein. So you have to have that understanding, so that you don't overload on other things that are not beneficial, and add things that are more beneficial. So you want to add things that are nutrient rich, as opposed to enriched, and vitamin and nutrient and minerals. So these are the things that you want to make sure you have in your meals, so that actually you eat better during your survival period. You should be eating more vitamin and minerals, and even have a one a day vitamin pill when you are in survival mode. Things are closing down. You don't have all the things you would normally eat and all that. You need to start having supplements for you and your children. So that's the time for the Flintstone. Make sure you got Flintstone vitamin. Make sure you have your over 50 vitamin, like for me, male vitamin men, and the over 50 for the women and whatnot, or 20 plus for young men and young women. You need to make sure you're taking vitamins, because you are going to be stressed. Even though you're eating well, you'll still be stressed. It's still a stressor. So the vitamins can offset any losses to those stresses. So you need to stock up on vitamins. The other thing you need to have also is highly recommended for everyone is that muscle milk type of thing. I'm not promoting any product, so forgive me, because I don't use it. You obviously know I don't use it, but I know we had kids here that used it. They would use muscle milk. I think this was just protein drink mixes. It's like I said, it's protein. So if you can get those protein muscle building type of things that these guys who go into the gym, they're always drinking, that's actually a good thing to have in your pantry. Very good, because that adds protein to your diet. Make sure, because if there's no meat in the store, you don't got any meat, that will replace your meat. Okay, so again, it's a different way of eating. but it is surviving and it is replacing what you're missing. So make sure you do a stock on when things are good again. Like I said, stock up on some of that protein drinks, mixes, shakes that they sell for muscle building, stuff like that. You got to start thinking outside the box because those are proteins. It's protein rich, and so that's what you want to start drinking. I don't know. Joan is here for a moment passing through. I know she's busy with kids, trying to make sure everything is normal for them. But I know that you're selling some products from the companies that you are associated with, and that's a good thing for you to do some videos on, to show people what products in your line would bring more vitamins and minerals to people, trying to prepare for survival, even now to get to stay alive and stay healthy. These are the things that you really should be doing and focusing on and getting for the family. And then also, if you have anything that has protein, that provides protein, that's the meat replacement for the meat. These are things for survival. These are things that people need to be thinking about to have in their pantry, ready to go, as an addition to, yeah, as an addition to the meals and stuff like that, so that you can do a whole series of things. I know your mind is preoccupied with taking care of your family, as I know that that's what you do. But just something for you to think about when you can do a stream, and just focus on whatever you have on hand, or whatever the company that you're associated with produces, that will fill in on the needs of a family that's not eating well any longer, and maybe and having these type of issues. So just look at that, and you can make some interesting stuff. It's not really, you got to look at it not just as a promotion. It is a business. I'm a businessman myself, but also that you have to look at it as some people need this, and also the packaging, because especially in my videos that I'll be doing after this one, probably not today, but in the subsequent videos I'll be doing about going on the road, getting out of the house and being able to survive on the road. Those companies that produce packages of things that can be easily mixed and made for drinking, or even for sprinkling on some other food that we can get. That type of stuff is perfect because it doesn't take too much room, and you can have a month or 2 months of supply just with those packages. That's a really good thing. So I think that's the other way to look at some of the stuff that you're promoting, as a lightweight alternative, as meal replacements, and enriching your day-to-day intake of food with these things that provide minerals and the proteins and the vitamins that you are lacking because of the not too ready availability of regular food. So that's something for you to look into. It'll be really great, and a great help for many people out there who are looking for that. I'll probably rebroadcast it if you do that. I'll probably rebroadcast it through the things I do also as a public service, for people so they can get ready and stay ready. All right, so I think that pretty much covers it in terms of the pantry. Large, bulky items. Obviously, like I said in the first video, psychological food. Again, we're trying to combat problems with mental health. So when I speak before about my expertise, I'm also a psychotherapist. So yeah, that's why I'm always talking about mental health in particular. My particular perspective in this type of emergencies is preparedness, and in physical things that we have, but also in the psychological, that we are not stressed, that we are going to be, but we make ourselves less stressed as possible, and minimize the stresses, and by having things that we need and things that comfort us. And one of those things is comfort food, especially for children. I'm also preoccupied with how children go through a situation. Usually, children are very resilient, but sometimes we don't notice the stresses. The stresses come out later on. So that's why you have to be careful. Even though you're not seeing your children having stress, the children are acting, normal. Later on, they tend to start displaying certain things depending on how well you maintain the home and the environment as stress free as possible. So, preparing in the home, having these things, and comfort food, it's important for the kids to say, I know there's something going on out there. I don't really understand it, but I got my pudding. I mean, my pudding is here. I have my candy. Life is normal for me. It's everything's good, everything's okay. So that's why a lot of the things that I'm saying have a lot to do with the mental health and stabilizing our emotional home life as much as the survivability in terms of the real physicality of survivability. So those both things are really essential. So comfort food. Oh my goodness. I just had some chips before I did this. Of course, I'm not supposed to have chips. Of course not. But chips make me feel like it's any day before the pandemic started. Just simple as that. I got chips. I'm happy, but I'm a happy camper. The kids see me, and then also that helps the kids because also the kids see me walking, sneaking to my room with the bag of chips. That old dad with his chips, So there goes dad with his chips again. So but it still maintained, and I do it. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna fib right now. That's why I do it. I do it for them. I take the chips for their sake, so they can have some normalcy in their day to day. But actually, I'm doing it for myself. That's the truth. But anyway, again, let's try not to stress out more than it needs to be. Have the junk food, though it's not a good thing, but junk food psychologically goes a long way within the home structure to maintain stability, for your kids and everyone else, even for me. Just having it there, and I mean, let me put in perspective. And it's not what I did. It's the funny thing. I did not do it before this pandemic. It would be a lucky week that we had chips in the pantry. Yeah, because I don't eat chips like that all the time, and every time I go to the store, I'm not going to go get chips. Okay, but I would do it every new moon. Let's just say, just to poke fun at some Bible series that I've been doing of late. So, once a month maybe I'll go and pull down the chips because I usually don't go shopping. But if I do go shopping with my wife, I'll pull down the bag of chips just to have there. And of course, I use the chips when I'm feeding the kids. So when it's my turn or the occasion arises that I do lunch for the kids, I'll give them hot dog and chips. So I'll use the chips for that. So it's used to just make a meal easier for me, just to get them fed and me back to my desk. So that's basically the way I use it. So I'll get the bag of chips and do that. So that's like once a month or something at most. Now, during this pandemic thing, for the last few weeks at least, the pantry has had a steady supply of like 4 to 5 bags of different types of chips, the fast food like that. I call it fast food as snacks. I didn't buy them. I didn't. I haven't gone to the store to get anything. It's just simply what my wife, when she goes, she felt to bring it. I think she's doing automatically something that to provide comfort for the kids here, some type of normalcy. for them, something good that they enjoy because they don't get to eat all the time. It's just every once in a while they'll get the chips with the. They like the chips, but they don't get it. We don't give it to them all the time. We just give it to every once in a while when they get the hot dog and then I throw the chips because I'm not gonna fry French fries or anything like that. But yeah, I just throw the chips on the plate. So that's when they get their chips. They really like the chips, but we don't get it to them all the time. But boy, I'm telling you, this has been a great few weeks here because that I can go in there now and find a different bag of chips to have. It's just full of at least 5 bags, not full, but I'm just saying it's a lot. We've never had that much unless we're having a party. We're not having any parties here. So basically, yeah. So it's like party time in terms of the happy food, and that's a good thing. So yeah, if you're going to have use your pantry, use it to have the bulk supplies for the cabinet system that we described in the previous video. Have your bulk supplies there, your cans. Remember, you're buying cans of food when they're on sale. Whenever they're on sale, doesn't matter if you need it or not. They got these on sale, you're getting it. They got pineapples on sale in can. You got the beans on sale in a can. You're getting them. They're on sale. You're getting them. So all of that can go into the pantry. If you have a garage, then you can overflow into the garage. If not, also you think about closets. A lot of closet space is wasted on dumb stuff. You can use some space in a closet in your kids' rooms and all of that. You can have space there for canned goods that you buy on sale. Just store them up there if you don't have a garage. But I do recommend, however, that you save closet space closer to the exit of your home. If you don't have a garage, the closest closet to the street should be your garage for the sake of having food that needs to go out into the car that you guys need to use to get out of the house quickly. So just dropping in that note, you need to think about reserving that space for that purpose. Other than that, I mean, if you're into baking, you can get some bread making kits, and you can get the bread making machine. If you're into that, again, that's only good as long as there's electricity. Again, but like in a situation like we're having now, there is electricity. But if something should happen, well, there goes that. So I wouldn't put too much weight on anything like that. Also, in the pantry, you need to have if not the garage, remember, or the other alternative to your garage, you need to have cooking abilities. There may not be gas. If you have an electric stove situation in your home, you need a barbecue. You need if you have one outside, you need a hibachi. If you're living in an apartment, a hibachi. I've seen somebody use a hibachi, small little barbecue thing, and they used it in the New York City public housing. They would use it practically every day. This family came from a culture that used a lot of barbecued meat. So, and she was a cook. She just loved. You go to her house, you're going to have dinner, normal dinners in her home. Normal. That's when there's no guests. You're going to have like 7 things on the table to eat. Okay, that's normal. And one of those things was going to be a barbecued meat. So that's the way they ate. God bless them, and I was happy to go visit. You believe you me. But anyway, she would put the hibachi below the kitchen window, and she opened the window slightly, and probably the window was open on the top or something. Whatever. The way she did it created a draft. So whatever she was cooking in the hibachi, that barbecue, that smoke would go up towards the window, and then it would be sucked out the window. So nothing, the house would never fill with smoke. it would always be sucked out by the window, the little crack in the window. Amazing stuff. I've never ever saw anyone do that, and that was incredible. So yeah, but if everything fell apart, she would be able to cook inside her home still without gas and without electricity because simply she would use the hibachi, which is like a little barbecue thing, a little barbecue factor there. All right, so that again, that was a great idea. Um, so so have another way of cooking. There's some camping stoves that you can get as well that uses some gas. It gets a little dangerous there, which I really don't like to propose it. Personally, I think it's safer just to use barbecue, barbecue, what do you call it, the briquettes, old fashioned barbecue with the little briquettes, carbon, and put it there and light it up, like that, instead of having like gas and flammable things like that that can cause havoc if you're having a fire in the house or something like that. So yeah, that's what she used for the hibachi. Of course, she did not use any gas or anything like that. She just put a few briquettes there, a few carbon, a barbecue. What do you call those? I forget the briquettes, right? Anyway, you put them on and light it up, and then you have those automatic lighter, the little gun thing, whatever that makes the spark go, and then these are self-lighting. The self-lighting are very good. Briquettes, I think they call it. I keep trying with this word because they you don't need to play with them too much. You just light it on the side of it, and it'll go on and stay on. So that's a good alternative, and you can have some cooked meat if that falls apart. Again, um, if all else falls apart, you need a place to cook. You have things in the refrigerator, the ice box that will need to be cooked quickly, so that you don't lose out on that food as well. Also remember that. Some people delay that from happening by having a generator. So if you can have a generator in your home, that would help there. In our home, we have a solar panel. Our home is a modern. It's the most modern type of home you can get. It's called a smart home. So this house may have a degree. So this house has, if power should shut off, like for everyone else here in Florida, we will have power because as long as the sun is shining, which is a pretty good bet in Florida, uh, our machines and our refrigerator will stay on running. So we have a good chance of surviving electrical outages, and for extended period because we have solar in the house. That, and I'm going to do some more research on that to see if that's an actual fact and how long the refrigerator being off overnight. It should have some batteries. I'm not sure about the batteries here because this system is tied into the electric grid. Actually, we pay very low electricity, very low, if anything, because our electricity is purchased by the Florida Power Company. So our electric bill is dirt cheap. Um, like I said, it's like a small little subscription to something that's we don't pay large. We don't have a large electric bill at all here. But the question is, how much batteries do we have? Solar systems usually have batteries, but that's not. I don't know if that's with us feeding it into the electric grid or not. So we have to see. But in either case, it even if it didn't have the batteries, as the sun goes on, electrical things can function. The house can function from the electric from those panels. There's enough panels that the house functions without electricity from the street. So, and obviously, and with overage, so that the Florida takes the rest, right? So they take in the rest of it, and we hardly pay anything in electricity as it is now, and everything is on here, and I'm broadcasting and talking for hours on it. So that's a good thing. So, but again, if it has the batteries to hold that battery juice overnight, that would be a great scenario if we don't have to worry about electricity going dead in terms of that. But most people don't have that. They don't have that. If the electric power goes out, you'd have no electricity. The meat in your freezer and stuff in your freezer are going to go bad. They're going to lose it in a couple of, I would say, you have like 3 days maybe. And again, you need to look at that. Do some research how long the frozen stuff in your freezer will stay frozen. But you need to start using your refrigerated items almost immediately when power is lost. So again, that puts your weeks of the shelving concept and the cabinets on hold, right? Because the first thing has to be done is that you gotta eat everything that's in the refrigerator that's going to go bad if you don't eat it before it defrosts, and then you have problems. So you need to do that. So that has to be something you have to work out as well. So make sure you're making a conscious realization, that once the electric goes off, the cabinet structure pauses, and we go into the defrosting refrigerator survival mode. That means to make the best possible use of what's in the refrigerator before it all goes bad. So that's the one thing you have to look into as well. Again, another solution to this, because that is you're going to have losses. But another solution is to have in your garage or even in the pantry have a portable generator. The portable generator then can extend the life. Yeah, yeah, make some of that food. You guys thought of. The Thanks for watching. The portable generator will extend the usability and storage ability of your refrigerator for more days until the gas runs out. Whatever you use it for fuel for that thing, you need to have that. You need to also have gasoline. Um, I just saw another video on YouTube. A farmer just got 100-gallon tank for gasoline, and he hooked it up to like a pump, an electric pump, or it runs on battery from the car, from the truck, and then he has a little portable gas station. It's incredible. A great thing. He puts it on the trailer, and he can resupply his machinery when there's no gas. So he already made preparations for that. Again, you can do something similar to that, like in your garage. Have a storage, which you have to go by legal. Every place has different legal requirements. As I see some farmers, they can get away with a lot of stuff, but you got to be careful with what you can get away with. Usually, the only gas you can have stored is the gas in your gas tank. So one of the things that you have to remember always is to keep your gas tank full. I know a lot of people wait till the gas tank is going to go to the E or on E to fill up. You should be filling up after every use of your car. Again, you can miss a day or two when things are normal, but you should never, ever, ever wait till it gets to E, because you are being so foolish. So foolish. It's not funny. At any moment, I'm going to talk more about this when we do our next video on the exit plan, but at any moment, You need to be able to take your family and leave your state on the gas you have in your car. And that's how you have to be at any instant of your life from now on. So no one ever should have anything less than a quarter to full tank of gas. You should never have anything less, not a half a tank. You really shouldn't have three quarters of a tank there, lingering for more time than needed, especially if you cannot leave the state on those three quarters of a gas tank. Again, maintain in your tank enough gas to leave the state at any moment. That means every day. You go home, before you go home and park that car, you need to have enough gas to leave the state. I repeated it because it's very important. Here in Florida, we are about 4 to 5 hours away from the state line, closest way to out. You need to have a full gallon, a full tank of gas to get out of the state. And the people down in Miami, they're like 8 hours out of getting out of the state. It's a long way to go on a half a tank of gas. Okay, so again, you guys need to always practice this, because when you go home, then you turn on the news or you go into the internet and you discover that something blew up or that we started a war and blah, blah, blah. And the gas stations are closing down, everyone running to the gas station. You should have no reason to go running to the gas station, standing on the line for 20 hours while your family is worried, wondering what they're going to do, because, of course, you didn't stack up any supplies either. You guys are asking for troubles because you don't prepare. You don't prepare, you don't live your life ready to move. So, again, we're going to cover this more in a future, the next broadcast on this subject. I don't know when that will be. Could be sooner than later, but we'll see. But in any case, start living differently. That's one message you're going to get is change the kitchen towards survival. Start using your pantry for longer term storage and for the equipment you need to make the refrigerator run longer, and for you to cook things when your cooking arrangement is no longer viable, and for you to purify water when that is no longer something that's viable either. We talked about having months of water on in storage, and also how to deal with having the little bit of bleach. You guys can look this up on the internet. I'm gonna wrap things up in a future video, a little more detail on how much bleach you need and stuff like that, and about the filtering system. But again, these are things you guys can look for now while you have internet and electricity, and find about these things and make those purchases at an appropriate time. I'm not telling you this to go out and start panic buying all this. It's ridiculous. Okay, it's when things start coming back to normal, slowly but surely start implementing. Just a lot of the things that sound to you good is up to you. You don't have to follow anything I say. Okay, I'm just telling you that this is reasoned. What I'm telling you here, if you have your according to your brain, does it make sense? Is that a plan for you, or you have something better? Then do that. I'm just saying you need to be ready for this thing to happen again, even more worse and with complications, so that you guys are ready at an instant. So again, the what I'm teaching you to do, you will survive. If you do what I've told you to do or something similar, you will survive. Your family will survive, and you will be mentally healthy after whatever happens. You're not going to have any issues, any too emotional issues more than what should be. But you can't have people freaking out. That is being over and above whatever emergency, any disease, any war. any other type of natural disaster. Above all of that, the most dangerous element is people panicking. You yourself and your family, immediate danger. And then the secondary danger to that is everyone else freaking out. Okay, because again, they're not prepared. It's important for you guys to be prepared and stay prepared. Okay, and even these people buying guns up right now and all that, you know, if it's part of your panic, if that's your panic mode, you're not going to survive even with a gun in your hand. You just will not be more cooler and more purposeful than a person like myself who is calm and aiming calmly to make sure that my family survives. Okay, now I said that in a way that a lot of people are going to get shot. But the reality is that people are panic buying guns. You know, in a shootout, it's not the panicked shooter that's going to remain standing. It's the guy like me who is calm and I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. In most cases, I'm going to be defending what I have. But again, like I said, the calm one and the one who shoots straighter is the one that's going to shoot true. All this panic buying, toilet paper, and guns now is not going to help the ones buying. Buying a gun don't mean anything. It's being able to use it effectively at the right moment. That's what makes the difference. Okay, so I think I said enough about those things for this video. Um, I'm hoping that each one of you, I'm praying for you guys in front of the Lord, and we're doing it right now. Lord, be with all of those who are watching, those who are suffering or have suffered already losses in their families, their loved ones, their acquaintances. People are also suffering economic losses as well, Lord. And overall, the emotional state, the state of fear, oh Lord, that's enveloping many people. We rebuke it in the name of Jesus. We come against it. We are doing what we can to educate, to inform, to help people to have a more reasoned outlook and for preparation, Lord, because I do understand, as you've given me understanding, that worse things are going to happen in the future, and that it is really time for us to learn and to stay prepared, get prepared, and stay prepared after this is done and said and over. And so we ask that you give people wisdom, that you comfort them in their losses at this hour. You prepare those of us who still haven't lost during this time. If it is your will that there be losses for us, Lord, that we find comfort in you and that we are able to restore ourselves if we are the survivors, oh Lord, to prepare those that you've entrusted in our care, oh Lord, and others in our ministries, so that we can help them to prepare and be ready, both spiritually, which is important, as well as in the physical things, oh Lord, which is their immediate need right now and in the future when those things are going to happen. So I pray that you give them wisdom, give them strength, let them be calm and do things in a proper manner, and take this time, oh Lord, to grow in the physical things, in knowledge, and also in spiritual things, to draw closer to you, O Lord. Now that life is real, that we see it for its durability and its fragility, which is what we see right now. So we pray to you, we thank you in all times, O Lord, for the mercies that you've extended, that all of us have been able to see to one degree or another, even that we are still here, that we are still able to help others and to think about what it is that we're doing. The mercy of today, we thank you for it. And we pray in the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. So stay well, everyone. Protect yourself. Don't get a heart attack. You get a sneeze or you get cough. You have a cough. Just don't sneeze on anybody. And go wash your hands. Right now, after this video's over, go and wash your hands. You just have to do it every single moment you can. Take care and God bless you. Thanks for watching. Share it out there because other people need to learn. Take care.